gon'
Well, it's a very good evening, folks, and welcome to Motor Talk with Witzenberg Motor Club. Abdul's is having a few technical issues. He's just getting back on as we speak. Just before I introduce also our guests for tonight, I just want to thank our sponsors, 435 Oils, for their contribution and keeping us on the air. And what happens is as well, I would like to thank BH Media, which is Bevan Harris, for all the graphics, all the videos, and everything, and putting it together for us every single time. I didn't get back to his email, actually, but I'm just saying to him now, thanks for everything. Thanks for sending us, and thanks for keeping us going. And like I say, Abdul's just getting ready now. Remember, as I'm going to introduce our guests, you're welcome to comment on Facebook, on YouTube as well. We are on both. I see we have 7 watchers at the moment, 1 love at the moment. So I'm going to introduce our 2 guests for this evening. Hermann Mahnke, we've had him a few times on the show as well. And Sean O'Connell, who's a first-time man on the show. Good evening, gentlemen.
Evening.
All right. So we're going to be talking, of course, another show tonight about tuning and some of the areas in tuning we actually did not cover the last time. But maybe the 2 of you guys, I've got a first comment over here as well, but maybe the 2 of you guys also can tell me about the connection between the 2 of you and how we are, looking towards the show with Mischief and Hat Dynamics. Maybe from Hermann first.
All right. Well, evening, everybody. Hope you're all right. We've, as most of you know from the last time we were here, when I couldn't go overseas anymore for this World Rallycross story that I went on, I needed to start something here again, and I thought of starting a tuning and training center, and that fell under a brand called Hat Dynamics, Hermann's Auto Tuning and Hermann's Auto Training. And Sean actually was a customer. Oh, hello, Abdul.
Hello.
Welcome back.
Thank you.
Sean actually started out as a customer and brought his cars in. He's a petrol head of note, and a how can I say, a really established businessman. And we kind of became friends and shot it off. And I was pretty much just working on his cars, and then actually he was helping me to develop my Hat Dynamics into something a bit bigger and better. And then it just kind of morphed into a thing where he became a 50% partner in Hat Dynamics. So we work together. I try and do the tuning and the fixing of the cars, and he's the brains behind it all. So that's how I, from customer to friend to partner, that's how it works. Up to you, Sean.
Thank you, Sean. Yes.
How's it up to?
First of all, you look very sophisticated in your shirt. The house and the chair that you're sitting in, it does the part. Now, I'm going to tell you that much first.
I'm feeling slightly embarrassed. I'm looking at myself in let's call it the mirror. It looks like I'm looking at my father, so I must be getting very old. I need a haircut, get rid of some of this grey.
Give somebody to Hermann there.
Yeah, I normally use Teams, and then you can put that background thing on, then you can't see any of this, but this is new to me. So just humor the stars and stripes behind me. It's fine. No, listen, thank you. And I can't put it more eloquently than what Hermann has put in place. I am a petrol head. I'm also a very satisfied customer of Hermann's. And ironically, I met Hermann over 10 years ago. I didn't know that. And I have a few cars, and as he said, I became a regular customer. We became friends, and I was just amazed at the hustle and bustle and just how busy he is all the time, and the massive opportunity there is to expand this message and this service and this knowledge to broader than just what was Hat Dynamics. And that excited me. I'm typically in IT and technology and software development, but I've been a petrol head. As I said to Herman, when I left school, much to my mother's disgust, I went and became an apprentice at Alfa Romeo back in '83. And I couldn't finish my apprenticeship because they left in '85, remember, with apartheid and all that. So
No,
I
not
got into
investment.
I got into IT because my lecturer at the time, I was good at maths and science. So he said, look, if you get a job in IT, go for it. And I did that. I'm a musician as well with a band called Airborne. Some of you guys, I started that band. And in parallel, I've always had my motoring gees. And now finally it's come full circle. And I'm having an amazing amount of fun. And I know hopefully through this evening, the short bit will be just a little bit about what Mischief and Hat does. But I watched and listened to the last one when Herman was on. I thoroughly enjoyed the discussion. It's an amazing world you guys live in and play in, and exciting. So yeah, thanks from my side for hosting. I'm looking forward to it.
Well, what can I say, guys? I'm really sorry I was a bit late because I had to change computers. But I feel so welcome to Herman and Sean's show. I'm really honored to be on you guys' show tonight because I introduced the show tonight, eh, Byron? So
I did my best, Abdul,
Byron,
to fill your shoes, but I think what happens is Herman and Sean saved me quite nicely over
Absolutely. So, by the way, what episode is this, Byron?
24, I think it is. And
okay, guys, welcome
I
to
say that loosely.
Yeah, well, welcome to our 24th Motor Talk with Witzenberg, or Motorpraatjies met Witzenberg, should I say. And it's an interesting story. The reason why we've got Herman back, obviously because of tuning. I mean, he's like a Google tuner. You know, you can just plug into his brain and you tell him about tuning. But I met
Google
Sean.
comes to him.
Yeah, well, for tuning, correct. And I met Sean at Herman's place when I was tuning my race car. And when I heard that they were going into partnership, I was so excited because I kind of saw the same opportunity that you guys have seen. Because, you know, when you're pursuing your passion, you kind of just having fun, and making money is the byproduct of that. And I think it's going to really, and I got really excited when you guys moved here closer to where I live in Wynberg. So I can just pop in there, you know, and say hi. And the Mischief umbrella is absolutely awesome. And obviously under the Mischief umbrella, there's a whole lot of other stuff that falls under that. And I kind of just call it the business hub. So I'm really excited about this partnership. And we're going to get, well, just before we go into the nitty gritty, I just want to talk a little bit about the Gymkhana that we had 2 weeks ago. It was an absolutely awesome Gymkhana. We had a wonderful commentator by the name of Byron Height there. He just set the tone for everything. Thank you, Byron. And
thank you, Abdul. I want to be actually out of the commentary seat next time and actually be on the course. So that's the big aim at the moment. So
well, that's
definitely,
choice,
but it was a fun event. It was a fun event, I'll have to tell you. And thanks to Northlink College in Belleville as well.
Yeah, and so you know what, you guys, I'm just going to talk a little bit quickly about why we started this, because you know, motorsport, we all pay an entrance fee to drive, especially Gymkhana and all the other types of motorsport, and a huge portion of that entrance fee goes towards a bursary fund that's been organized or kind of run by YQ for Hope, which goes to Northlink colleges for kids that are underprivileged and that want to do anything in the motor-related industry. So that's kind of, we're pursuing our passion through motorsport, but we also help in the community. So guys, that's where we're at, and we're hopefully going to have the next one very soon. We're just busy with the city now, getting a few things sorted out, getting the lines crossed and what do you call the I's dotted. Yeah, so that's where we're at. So I'm going to start off with Sean, Mr. O'Connell. So if we get Herman to start, then Herman's got a lot to talk about.
You go first.
No, not a problem. We have a huge opportunity. We can tap into his resources. But Sean, tell us about, you kind of gave us an introduction earlier on. Yes, we know you're a petrolhead, you do a lot of other stuff. But why specifically what you're doing with Mischief under, like you explained to me earlier on, like it's a big shopping center. Just go a little bit more into detail about that.
Yeah, so why the name Mischief is probably also something. So I guess most of us watch a lot of, probably mostly American television around, you know, specific car shows, Gas Monkey Garage, Chip Foose, and you know, I'm glued to it, and at the same time wondering where the similar sort of services, almost a one-stop shop, but a shop that's really able to not only assist but do so with passion and also cost effectively, and so the whole idea came to me with I have a few cars, and I store them I used to store them in another warehouse at Capricorn Park, and then as Herman and I got chatting, he needed to expand, and I needed to also expand, and we found these premises, and we found ourselves talking, and as Herman said before that, we were talking about strategizing around his business and what HAT could do on a broader sense, because the one thing that Herman's passionate about and that I share is knowledge and knowledge sharing and education. And the HAT Academy that he's been driving, and he'll talk about, he was doing that on Saturdays and then preparing and working on Sundays and Mondays. And I said, look, what happens when Herman gets hit by a bus? So we need to start growing more Hermans, and we got Nimpies, and we got more guys that come along and start creating more knowledge and allowing Herman to become a lot more of an R&D specialist and ensuring that knowledge gets repeated through our software and the likes. So there are a few things that started out with me wanting to store my cars, and Herman wanting to expand HAT. And I also own a company called Moby Wash. Some of you may have used it. It's an Uber-like app, and we come and wash your cars wherever. And when I was talking to Herman, I said, and I'll use, whether it's Mercedes, whether it's BM, whether it's Porsche, when we had the drought and the water issues, the drought, where we couldn't use water, we take our cars for cleaning or servicing. When you got it back, it was dirty. And I remember having a debate with one of the salesmen / workshop managers there. I said, look, you haven't washed my car. He said, yeah, no, it's the drought. I said, well, strange. I mean, do we need water to vacuum the car, to dust it down, by way of example? I said, looking at all your new cars on the showroom floor, my car's pretty new. I'm an existing customer. What makes my car and me less special than those brand new spanky clean cars on the showroom floor? So what we did was to look at this and bring passion back into what we do and try and house all of this under one roof. So Mischief Garage effectively is a storage venue for sports and well, pretty much any cars that need storage. My son's a musician. As I said, I'm also a musician, and he's an internationally acclaimed musician, and he's decided to set up his studio there as well. Some of you guys might know Jimmy Nevis and the likes. These guys are in my house all the time. They pop in and they talk, and they collaborating and making music. And Herman was here one day when Matthew, my son, actually showed them how he actually makes music, and I could see wow, that's awesome. So I said, well, this will be cool. We put this in the warehouse where we're storing the cars. You can look at nice cars, you can have music, but hey, what do we need when we're sitting? A nice coffee would be cool. So then we decided to set up a coffee area with this bottomless cup of coffee. And then we started talking about the other cool things, like Brian with petrol heads, having our runs that we do, our car runs, as we do with Moby. And then we got to talking about HAT, and we found this venue. And I own a company called Bumblebee, and very quickly, it's an IT company, but my daughter named it after my yellow Porsche. I came home one day about 10 years ago, and it was a Sunday morning run, and she said, hey, how's Bumblebee? And she was referring to Transformers and the yellow Camaro. And I needed a name for my company at the time, and I called it Bumblebee. I've got an Exige S, a Lotus, that Herman also, and I think that cemented it for me. Herman, I'll tell that story and then I'll be done. But that car's called Mischief WP. And while we were looking for a name for this venue in Wynberg, my daughter said, why don't you call it Mischief? Because you guys are always getting up to mischief the way I can see it. So it's a fun name, and yeah, us as petrol heads, and I'm loving meeting everybody. The guys are so passionate. There's so much knowledge, so much passion, and I'm being educated all the time. So what made me propose to Herman, and I think we proposed at the same time. If you want to talk about it.
That's a big word.
Not proposed like that, not that one.
I was wondering.
I was thinking, it's a beautiful show, beautiful thing, a relationship forming, and
yeah. No, I took my Exige there. Correct me if I'm wrong, you'd worked on it many moons before, but anyway, there were a few things wrong with it. I just bought it. It's a track day car. It's done quite a few track days with the previous owner. And in a nutshell, Hermann sorted everything on the car. And the rear engine mounting had a crack in it. And it needed to be imported. He said, "Oh, I think I can fix this. I'll have it welded and sorted out." He did that. And then he had it powder coated. I said to him, "But nobody's going to see it." He says, "No, but I know about it." And right then I knew that this was the caliber and quality that I want to be associated with. And I said, last but not least, I was 5 years ago, I said, I want to be Sean of 5 years ago, where I was looking for a shop to be able to fix my cars. I got a Lotus 7, I got a Hopper. You go to guys and you end up, you forget about paying too much. You just end up not getting the service that you think you should. And so after many scars and lots of money and lots of disappointment, I'm glad to say that I've only had, as a customer, great service from Matt and Hermann. And it's a privilege to be in business with him. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
What an awesome story. And you know what? A little story, I told Hermann this before. When I met you, Sean, at Hermann, at the Old Hat, in Deep River or Plums, wherever it was.
Okay.
And I didn't know who you were. So I came in there with my little conquest. I come in, not even worth a couple of hundred, no, a couple of grand. And you came to me, Sean, and you said, "Yes, I love this little car." And I thought to myself, "Well, thank you very much." Not knowing that the Lotus was yours, the BMW was yours, the Hopper was yours, and all the other cars that were yours. I think to myself, this Taz is worth like, or this conk is worth like not even 40 grand. This man's got cars worth, way more than that. And he's telling me he loves my conquest. And I told him, I said, "Hermann, you know what? That's a good man. He's a humble guy." I'm talking about you, Sean. And when I heard that you and Hermann were going into partnership, I thought to myself, absolutely perfect partnership. Two gentlemen know what they're talking about. Hermann's always busy, and Hermann's in his happy space now because all the business stuff can be taken off his shoulders. So Hermann, let's hear from you. Talk to us what you like to talk about. And you know what it is, tuning. Where are we going to go from the last tuning thing we spoke about?
Well, we've got, there's lots to cover. I just to reiterate again how just to finish off the whole hat Mischief idea before we get deeper into the tuning. As Sean said, I was like I'm like a fly with a chicken with my head cut off. I'm trying to do answering calls and tuning cars, and I'm trying to fix cars, and I'm the guy that's driving the mounting to get the powder coating, and you're just doing everything. And you'd come and say hi, and you just like. You got no time for anything. You're just running around doing your thing. And the problem is with a guy like me is I think there's a lot of guys that run workshops that know how to tune, that know how to do something. And I'm not ashamed to say that I'm not really a good businessman in that respect. So yes, I might be able to tune a car, but I have all these ideas in my head, and I'm like, okay, I want to like implement them, but I'll have this idea in my head for like 2 years, and just never get there. And I think that's where Sean was. He was like, he tried to help me. He said initially it never started as a partnership. He just saw, let me just see if I can kind of guide you in just steer you in a little to help you, yeah. And I started seeing the value of having essentially a business mind that's can kind of focus and say, all right, every time you. Everyone, there you go. You'll start keeping a register for when you cleaned up, but by a week from now, the register falls out the window. You just carry on falling back to what you did. And Sean's one of those. He's like, well, you said, his famous thing is, if time and money is no object, where do you want to go? Like, okay, well, that's the goal, right? Is that a good goal? Is it going to make money? Is it not? Is it what you want to do? And when it was, yes, that's what I want to do. Right. How do we get you there? And then it's keeping on asking the important questions. Yeah, it's great that we're doing all of this, but how are we getting to that goal that you wanted to reach? And that's been the amazing part for me, which there's lots more we could talk about that, but which also just want to make one clarification. The coffee shop and everything is not all up and running just yet. So don't pull in tomorrow for a bottomless coffee yet. We've got the hot dynamics running first. the warehouse, we're busy painting now and getting that all ready, and then the studio is next, and then the coffee is next, and then we're gonna have Gran Turismo play seats and things that the guys can come and they can sit and we can do some online racing, and all of this stuff is in the pipeline. But it takes time, and obviously it takes money. And we need to invest a bit, generate a bit. But the ultimate idea is to get to this Mischief garage concept. But getting back to the tuning side, Sean I was busy doing training on Saturdays, and I'm coming up with all these different ideas. But the big thing was I had no real time for developing my own tuning software, and so that was the big push that we're busy doing now is within the tuning circles. People, like, the guy will phone a dyno shop and he'll say, I want to get my car tuned. And you say, okay, most standard cars, you can't tune anymore with a screwdriver and a spanner. You can do nothing unless you either do one of three things. You either do software on the car. When we speak about software, we're speaking about taking the car's existing tune file that's on the standard car's ECU. We pull it off the car, and then you move it into a programmer that you can then edit. And then you can edit that file and put it back. So if you want to change ignition timing, or you want to change the rev limiter, or you want to change switch on and off, try diagnostic trouble codes and things, you can do all of that. A lot more tricky than what I'm saying now, but that's how it's done. And then you change the software on the car. So, for example, a turbocharged like a GDI 5 or a GDI 6, you would upload the file, you change the target boosts, so the car is now targeting a higher boost level. You can change the ignition timing, so that's the ignition timing it's targeting. On the Fords, you're going to be targeting a power output. So you're actually changing physical mapping, if you want to call it that, on the actual car's ECU. You're not adding any hardware. You are just essentially manipulating the standard tune file, and that's known as software. So if anybody says to you, we do software, that's what they're doing. They're uploading a file, making changes, and putting it back. I'm going to get back to that now to elaborate on where those files come from. Then you get, as people have heard, piggyback tuning, which the most common one in this country is a DASTEC Unichip. You do get Perfect Power makes one, and there's actually a couple of them. But JB4 is another one. But you get all of these, if you want to call it a piggyback, that you either wire into the car's harness, or it's got plugs that you plug in. And what that does is it allows us to manipulate the signals going to and from the ECU. So the reason it's called a piggyback is you actually, in Afrikaans, you're flossing the ECU. You're tricking the ECU to think that something is happening that isn't actually happening. But you get the same result. So either if we wanted more fuel, we could up the injection time on the actual injector with software, or we could target a different lambda reading in the software. Or you could trick the ECU into thinking that there is more air coming in than actually is coming in, and it will add the fuel for that. But it's actually the ECU. It doesn't. How can I say? It thinks 10 grams of air are coming in per second, but actually there's only 9. So it's fueling for 10, so it adds the fuel. We speed up and slow down with a Unichip. The ignition timing signals to the ECU. We speed them up and slow them down so that we can change the ignition timing. So it's another way to tune an ECU is to manipulate the signals to and from the ECU. And why?
Okay, I think there is a kind of a break in the signal there. Maybe the ECU packed up. Maybe they tuned it beyond what it was supposed to be. I'm not too sure. But maybe Sean can just go on a bit about the business side of things. Hey, Baden, what do you think?
I think so. I think let's actually just play a video. I think we have a nice few clips here tonight as well of a number of vehicles, and I'd love to actually just open us up with one from Matt and
Never seem to look back, look forward, don't regret shit. I'm only here to open ears and spread the message.
awesome.
Nice intense intro there. Look at that. Look at that.
I got
That's
from Sean. I got that from Sean. That's a
oh,
brilliant
nice
video.
one. Nice one. There we go.
Well, it's interesting on that because I'm watching it now, and with Moby Wash, when we moved into Capricorn Park, we're a car wash, right? I insisted that they lay down porcelain tiles. Everybody looked at me like I'm nuts. It's a workshop. How do you put in porcelain tiles? Well, you clean it more often, and it looks cool. I mean, when you go to supercar showrooms and all of that, what do they have? They got porcelain tiles. So I was just looking at that video. I was just looking at the video then. The dyno room. Or the
It didn't have tiles yet.
Yeah, now it's got full porcelain. And Herman's got a guy, because I learned this about Herman, cleanliness uber alles. We've got a guy, Lovemore, all he does all day is clean the workshop, clean the warehouse, clean the dyno room, and it's wonderful. It's actually quite cool. So the next video will have our dyno with the porcelain tiles as it currently is. We're having the extraction system fitted today. And I said to him, it's looking so cool, I actually want to put a fuselage on it because it looks like a plane engine.
You know, Sean, talking about cleanliness, I bought one of my race cars, actually not the Conquest, one before that, but it was an ex-Toyota factory car. And I had the privilege of going to pick it up from the workshop in Johannesburg at Toyota Motorsport head office in Sandton. You know what? Exactly what you're saying. And I understand why Herman has been successful in whatever he's been doing as far as racing and stuff is concerned. You could eat off those floors. So the rally car comes in and it's completely smashed up. The car can't come into the workshop. The car gets cleaned. A completely smashed car gets hosed off and cleaned before it goes into the workshop and then gets stripped. So I fully understand. Herman, I don't know what happened there. I think the ECU, the connection was a bit bad there with the Unichip or something. But,
no, it's called put the charger into the laptop.
Oh, is that what it is?
The simplest things, you know.
That's something very technologically advanced for me. So maybe just continue where you left off.
Well, very briefly, you see me getting lost earlier on. It was also keep your hands to yourself. I clicked on something.
Okay, Herman.
All right, sorry. Okay, so we were Unichip. So so with the Unichip, you can manipulate the signals to and from the ECU, and that allows us to tune the vehicle. If you were to, for example, say you want to you add a turbocharger to a naturally aspirated car, we can then add a pressure sensor, a map sensor, and we can read those signals, and then the ECU doesn't have to know about the boost. The Unichip has to know about the boost. So you get fancy things that Dastec makes now called intelligent drivers, and we can drive the injectors almost like a standalone system. So it's a really, it's an amazing product, the Unichip. So like I said, it allows us to fuel and timing, and we can do boost, we can do nitrous, we can do launch control. There's a lot of stuff which a Unichip can do, which guys don't realize it can do. We also slowly but surely they're busy learning what it can do. So like I've started fitting launch control to Hondas, and then like the next day the guys are phoning like, hey, can I have launch control on my Honda too? You're like, yeah. How many different settings? No, 5. Like, what? Okay, yeah, let's do that. But that you can add on with the Unichip. Then the third way to tune a car is those are pretty much your only two ways to tune a vehicle. You either do software on the car, which is changing the standard map, or you add a piggyback system, which you trick the ECU, or you take that complete system out and you put a standalone system in, which is what we spoke about last time and the time before. Yeah. So I'm not going to elaborate too much tonight on the standalone, which is the Spectronics, Dictator, Haltech, whatever, those standalone systems. The reason we've nicknamed them standalone because they stand on their own. They don't need a car's ECU to piggyback or anything. They're a universal management system. Yeah. So, but in my opinion, there is a place for a universal management system, but anything that's universal is not as good as something designed for the job. So you're going to be giving something up by fitting a system like that. You're going to be giving something on the knock control system or on the idle control system, or the control of the actual fuel injectors and stuff is pretty much as good. But also when you inject and moving the injection timing around the engine and things, which the cheaper systems don't do, the entry level systems, should I rather call them. They don't do that kind of stuff. So you'll never match the fuel economy with a standalone system that you will with an original management system that the car's got on it. Which is why the guy named Peter de Weert, who started Dastec and made the Unichip, said, why would you want to throw that management system away if we can just make it fully adjustable by adding a piggyback? And that was long before we had software systems like Alien Tech, KES machines, and you get, there's lots of different Magic Motorsport machines and things that you can edit. And that side of things I was quite new to a couple of years ago, because there wasn't people that were able to edit the maps properly. And this is where I said earlier I would come back to. It depends where you get your file from. So you'll be able to buy a Alien Tech KES machine that can, for example, that's just one of the brands, that you could pull the file off of the car and you can now edit it. You now have access to the factory's files on the ECU, put it that way, which means there's a lot you can mess up. And you make a change, nothing works, you make another change. All those changes are doing something, just not where you're checking now. You know, they're going to stuff something up tomorrow or the next day, you know. So what happens is the guys then buy files from overseas, and there are reputable file guys that are doing tuning. So there's so many of them. Just go on the internet and you can buy them from Europe. You can buy there's guys in South Africa doing it. And what happens is you can buy a tuned file for a car. So you buy one of these machines, you then upload the file. You don't make the changes yourself. You buy the file from somebody. And that is a developed file already. That's good. That's safe. That's got safe timing, safe boost, safe target air fuel ratios. They've given a bit of throttle booster maybe. They've maybe added a launch control function. They've done some development on this file. They've added some pops and bangs that everyone loves when you take your foot off, and my dog doesn't. So you can get these files, but if you buy a genuine machine, you're paying sort of between 40 and 50,000 Rand for the machine, and you're paying 1,500 Rand to 2,000 Rand for a file. If you buy a Chinese machine, you can buy it on eBay for 3,000 Rand, unlimited credits, and you can go crazy forever. And you just get the files from anywhere you can find them on the internet. So you need to be careful about who's loading the file and where the file comes from. It's definitely not. It's not a fly-by-night, throw it onto a car. The other problem that we have is, which is what Sean and I spoke about, is so just to finish off there, if you're going to buy a file, buy it from go to a reputable place. If you go on the internet and you type in Hat Dynamics and you see one person doing one thing on his own in the corner of South Africa, don't buy his files. I'm just joking. But what I'm saying is if you've got a reputable brand like Revo or there's so many brands around, ATM, there's CPI, all of these brands that are around in South Africa, and if you look, you'll see there's overseas outlets, and generally if they've got 4 or 5 or 6 different stores all around the world, maybe they've probably got a reputable file. So you can then take that to one of those dealers and let them load it happily. The only problem that we have in this country is our fuel is nowhere near as good as any other country. We have a lot of different we've got a lot of temperature. We've got big fluctuations as well in altitude, where we as South Africans we push our cars like to the limits, So if you said that you've got a standard 2J with no pistons and no nothing, and you tell the overseas guys you're making 700 horsepower, I mean, they're just going to shake their heads and say you're crazy, And then you tell them you're doing it with a management system that's looking up on a map sensor, and there's no lambda sensor, there's no boost control, there's nothing, and they just shake their heads and say you're crazy. Now, but we try and do that with our road cars as well. and what happens is when the engine breaks, the fun stops. So what Sean said to me was, he said, well, why don't we take one of these software packages and put together essentially hat tune files? So we can obviously everybody, there's file sharing, so you can use. I mean, there are great places that can do tune files for you. I mean, there's Tune to Race. Just go on the internet and you'll see all the places that can do software for you, reputable names. And so there is definitely file sharing going on. In other words, everybody thinks they go to person A or person B and they're getting a completely different file, but they're actually getting the same file. I mean, if you're looking at the straightforward tune on I always pick a Golf because it's probably one of the most modified cars in this country, or a Hilux D4D. When you load a tune file onto that, all we're doing is lifting the boost, really. So the fueling is right, the timing is right, everything else is right. So in other words, we lift the target boost by a certain amount, and everybody's lifting it by the same amount, as long as you haven't changed your injectors and your turbo and stuff. And that's where it also goes wrong. But so whether you're lifting the boost yourself by 0.2 or 0.3 of a bar, or you're loading somebody else's file that did the exact same thing, you got the same result. The only problem is when you start changing big things like what would be called stage 3 or stage 4 or stage 54. These guys come up in the software terms. They come up with these terms of stage 1, stage 2, stage 3 files. So I get these phone calls all the time, like, how much is a tune? And you'll tell them, well, the tune costs 3,800 Rand or whatever. And he says, okay, is that a stage 2? And you're like, it's a stage whatever you want. It's custom tuned for your vehicle. But generally, a stage 1 is if the car has no modifications on it whatsoever. You haven't changed the downpipe, you haven't decatted, you haven't done anything. Then you can push the boost, or you give it a certain tune. If the car has been decatted and it's got a downpipe and an exhaust on it, and it's got a cold air intake or something on it, so kind of bolt-ons on the outside, they would call it a stage 2, because you can then push the boost a little bit harder because there's not so much back pressure on the turbo, and so the boost targets will go a bit more, and you can get a bit more power out of the engine, as well as the guys on stage 2 files are generally prepared to run a bit of octane booster in their fuel and things to run these higher powered files. And then a stage 3 file would be something, and those you need to be wary of, because those are the files where you've changed internals, like you've done cams, or you've done a bigger turbocharger, or you've changed the injectors, or you've changed the throttle body, or you've changed something that's critical to engine tuning. And those files, they will cost more money, but they have to be custom files. Unless there's a kit, for example, Revo was to say, right, you fit this turbo, you fit this downpipe, you put these injectors, you do this, and you run that fuel, and you load this file. That's okay. But when you start hybriding your turbo and you take it, to full boost to get your turbo done, and they do a hybrid turbo for you, and you're not sure how much air it pumps at whatever boost, and you stick a set of injectors that you've brought in from eBay somewhere, that becomes a problem, because you don't know the dead times on the injectors. You don't know any of that stuff. So it becomes problematic to tune. So what Sean wanted to do, and that's when he spoke earlier about, all right, well, let's put together, like, we'll brand some downpipes. We'll do a downpipe and an intake, and then a hat tune file that we know is a safe tune file. My philosophy all the years has been, again, when the engine brakes, the front stops. So I've never been one to chase power. And if somebody comes in and I can challenge, well, anybody that's listening tonight can challenge me on it and say that I push their car harder. Usually they'll come in and I'll convince them that what they want is too much. You want a safe, drivable car. And we spoke last time about where an engine makes power and for how long it makes power.
Yeah.
So, that's where Sean just said, look, let's get some safe tune files that we can then have. We can start selling that as a brand, like a hat tune brand, and we can start developing tune files for South African conditions for the South African cars, and align ourselves with the South African guys that are doing it. We're not going to be kind of shooting in the dark on our own, but to do that we can have, and then we will have around the country, you will be able to have a hat-tuned car in, let's say, George or Port Elizabeth. And that guy has got a machine linked to ours. So he will be able to pull a file and he will be able to load a hat-tuned file for that car. If we don't have a custom file for that car, then I will develop the file for those kinds of cars and then we will put them onto the car. So that's, in a nutshell, roughly another direction we're going. Sean, I don't know if you want to add anything on that.
I'm just unmuting. Yeah, no, I think that the notion of safe tune is one thing. The other thing is also drivability. Oftentimes I've had guys saying, "Oh, well, I'm making X," like, and then you drive the car and for a split second you hitting X, and then you're waiting for it. We do a lot of runs with our sports cars, and there's a particular. I've got a hopper, and another buddy's got a hopper, and he's got a much bigger turbo, automat, and all of this. My car's quicker on a much smaller, more linear turbo, simply because it's more usable and it's up and away long before he can get there. So if we compare stats, his motor's producing much more, but he needs to wait before he gets his big bang, and then it's a lot shorter, etc. So I think it is about safe tunes, but also drivable tunes, so that you actually start enjoying. You feel it in the seat, you feel it on the road. And again, if I may, there was a customer. I won't mention any names, but he was there with a vehicle, a nice car, a sports car. It was actually a Lotus 7, and he wanted a lot of kilowatts. He's a crazy guy. He's got cars with lots of power, and this particular tune was a safe tune, if I can call it, Herman. You wanted him to run the motor in a little bit more.
It was a running map tune essentially, so it's the lowest boost we could get.
Yeah, but it was still doing somewhere close to, I think, 190 kilowatts and 300 newtons. And when you put that in about 550, 600 kilograms, the power to weight is scary. So when he looked at the numbers, he's like, I was hoping to get closer to XYZ. So I said, go give it a drive. Let him feel. The guy came back, he couldn't believe it. He's like, this car doesn't need more power. Well, it was Hermann driving as well, so let's also give that credit. But still, the car was absolutely chalk and cheese. I mean, any more power and all he's going to do is wheel spin.
Sean, me and Hermann had the discussion. We have it many times. Just not so long ago, I brought a car in the Corolla. That car pushed out 240 kilowatts and 450 Newton meters of torque. The car needed to be used in a gymkhana. It's impossible. I mean, the car won't even pull away. And me and Herman had this, and we said, and Herman said, you know what? Just tune it to the lowest you can possibly do it and see what happens. And even that was too much. But my car was the same. And people don't understand this. It's not about how much kilowatts you're pushing out. It's about the drivability. I mean, my car revs from 1,000 straight clean to 7,400 in all the gears. Well, the gears I use. And that's what you want. So, Byron, I haven't heard you for like a half an hour. What's happening?
I'm listening.
Question.
Well, you would always think, Abdul, but I think what happens is I like the fact that we've got a nice few video clips here. I think it's time for another one. And here is a very loud Merc.
That's an
the floor was tiled.
Yeah, was the floor tiled there? I didn't
The
think
floor was
that.
tiled there.
We've had a loud Merc on, and what happens is we talk about the tiling of the floors.
I'm very proud of those tiles.
There we go.
So that's a Mischief concept. Okay, think again of the Gas Monkey garage and the likes. It's actually for a friend of mine up in Johannesburg. She's actually a friend's fiance, and she's always spoken about a sports car and never quite got to it. And I said to her, listen, it's time. She wanted. I convinced her, and she then said, look, I don't know anything. I've got X to spend. Will you find me a car? And so we found that SLK 55, and I said to Herman, right, we need to make it loud, fast, and as finely tuned as you can. We do partner with a company called Kutsy's Panel Beating. They're really excellent. We send all our cars. So currently, Herman did the tune on that car. He can tell you about how loud it is in the mouth. And today I actually went to go check it. And all we're trying to do with this car is to just give it a little bit of cool touches that makes it unique. So we've gone with a gloss black look on it, all the decals and the lights, and so there's no chrome on the car, and we've color coded the brake calipers, and it's actually looking stunning. My son and I were there early on today just to video it because we'll bring out a video on that. The car's due back, I think, tomorrow or Friday at the hat workshop, and the owner's flying down on Wednesday next week, and we're actually going to be doing a drive. Part of the way back, all the way to Samola, and I go back. So that's part of having some mischief with this car and having some fun with or in the process. I can't wait to see this lady's face. She's never driven a V8, never had a two-door cabrio, and never been tuned crazy like Herman has done with that car. So, Abdul, maybe you should be there when she goes for her first drive.
Oh my word! I just can't imagine the look on her face and the excitement and the passion that she's going to experience when she drives that car. It's going to be unbelievable.
And she's going to drive it all the way back to Joburg. I mean, what
word.
more fun can you have with a new car?
You know, Herman, just talking about that unit chip, I drove a Yaris, 1300 Yaris that Northlink College built at their college campus because they've got all the stuff that they can do. And I drove that car in 2 Gymkhanas. And my wife drives a standard 1300 Yaris, you know, the one that you know.
Yes.
And this one had an exhaust on power flow and a unit chip in. And this car was unbelievable to drive. Unbelievable, honestly. I mean, I was so surprised when I drove this car. It was really, really cool. Okay, Byron, do you have any technical questions that you want to maybe ask either one of the two gentlemen here?
Well, definitely not me.
Yeah, well, you can technical from a business perspective and technical from a car perspective. We can check with Herman. So, Byron. Okay, Byron.
I think
sorry, there. I didn't catch there. A bit of funny connection.
Okay.
And Abdul, maybe I'll just then, while he's getting his connection right, that Yaris you're talking about, that's a perfect example of what a Unichip can do. You've got a car it's tuned for fuel economy, not really power. Their induction system is designed it's got silencers and everything on it because you don't want the mommy taking her kid to school doesn't want this like side draft induction noise in the engine bay. You know, they quieten the exhaust down, and with that you comes loss of power, but it becomes an economical quiet car to drive, and you haven't got many sensors, and some of them do have variable valve timing and stuff on the small cars now, but most of the economical cars that you buy, they respond well to a Unichip because of the fact that they haven't got, like I said, lambda sensors and closed loop cam control and all of this kind of stuff. When you get to the much more tricked out cars, in other words, if you're looking at a new M3 or something like that, then a Unichip, well, actually it's turbocharged, so you could, but let's say a V8 M3, E92 M3. If you take a car like that, I would rather be able to manipulate cam timing and stuff within a software file. A Unichip is not going to give you that much. You'll see that because your fueling is targeted on a lambda sensor, so we can manipulate that signal, but to make it richer or leaner. But it's actually perfect. The BMW M division didn't get it wrong. You know, so and they've got knock sensors running all the time. So we add ignition time in the car, just takes it away. So you don't get great gains on those kinds of cars necessarily. There are cars that make good gains, but it's on your kind of your older type cars as well as your more entry level cars, like a Yaris, like that, like a Runx 1400. You know, you add a bit of ignition timing at the bottom, and it just livens the car up like really, really nicely. And all it does is it just allows you to. Everyone's heard the word blueprint, but when you blueprint your engine, in other words, you make your engine like the blueprints, the design prints of the engine were, you know, so you make the engine perfect. Because the Toyota or BM or whoever doesn't have time to tune every car perfectly when it leaves the factory. So what they do is they tune the car on an engine dyno, they spit out the power number that car's engine makes, and that's the number they print in the book. But they're going to make 1 million of those engines, and they've got a tolerance on fuel pressure regulators, a tolerance on injectors, a tolerance on everything, has a tolerance. And if you just happen to get the car that's got the leaner injector with the lower fuel pressure, with the airflow meter that reads on its lower voltage, you're going to end up with a very lean car versus a very rich car. So what they do is they have to put a bit of safety margin in. So they make the car a little bit extra rich. They take a bit of timing away. They put a safety margin in, and they say, right, make 1 million of those maps and you can plug it in. But that leaves us a leeway to blueprint that tune essentially to make it perfect for that engine. And when you've changed an exhaust, you've changed an intake, or you've changed something like that, we can then trim the tune to make it as best as it can be for that engine. And what that also does is it makes the engine burn cleaner, burn better. So provided you don't add a 500 RPM to the rev limit, you're actually making the engine, the longevity of the engine better. It runs cleaner and it runs better.
Amazing. You know what? That's another market you and Sean should maybe discuss. I mean, you guys are doing in the top end markets at the moment with the Mercedes and the BMs and those type of things. But after I drove, I mean, there's also the young up and coming guy that can't afford to buy those type of cars, that buys a little Yaris or a little, I don't know, whatever else is out there, Mazda or something. And I think that car was absolutely awesome. I enjoyed myself with that car. It's absolutely brilliant. And it was it's a road car with an exhaust and what I spoke about. So yeah, maybe you guys can discuss it at some time, and who knows, we can have a whole Yaris tune up.
We're doing those cars we're doing those kinds of cars. That's why it's like you get this. I got a friend of mine that says that we only do Woolworths cars. You know, I mean, if you look at, we do any car. I mean, I've got a Golf 1 standing there now with a dictator on it, and like I still say to the guys, this is an anti-theft device because there's no handle on it because the rust is a hole in the door that you stick your hand in and push the little pin down to open. Yeah, we do, and we do. Everybody needs to be serviced. I mean, at Dynamics we pride ourselves in giving not necessarily the cheapest, but value for money. In other words, I try to give you what we promise you we'll do for your money. And but my kind of the marketing team or the guys that are making the videos, maybe we should put more of those kinds of cars on it as well. But obviously that's it's just how your mind thinks. Today we've got a fancy car in the dyno, and then like you take a video of that. But before that there was 2 Yarises and a Golf and a Nissan Sentra 1400. But they don't find their way. They don't find their way onto, I don't know, how can I say, Instagram somehow. Sean, maybe we must.
I definitely am. I mean, you often heard me chat when I talk about the 1.2 TSI, however, example, because I hear you guys saying how much you can get and how much you can change the performance in that motor. And we're looking as well at the women or the female market, because so many, I know guys as well that are not as wise as you guys get ripped off too often. So we are definitely looking at value for money, and there is no ceiling. I think this also probably talks to the culture and the concept of Mischief Garage. You do have other, I think it's called Club 9. There's what's the other one? The Arc Culture. There's other one, something, and forget the name. It'll come back to me now. But those are really they're stunning venues, but they're very upmarket and almost too exclusive. Not uppity and nose in the air type, but they're just financially very exclusive. And we're looking to make it an inclusive experience, so that if you're a petrol, and Abdul, thank you for the kind words earlier, but there was something that I wanted to chip in and say. I seen an absolute passionate petrolhead, professional, and a stunningly turned out car, which was your one. And that doesn't. You could have had a Ferrari parked there that would not have impressed me because it wasn't turned out. It didn't have the attention to detail that your car has. So for me, it's meant to accommodate everybody. And if we can bring in the aspirant tuners and the aspirant youngsters that ultimately want to drive faster, bigger, better cars, what Hermann and what we're saying at that is, listen, you will get value for money. You will get us returning the trust. And that for us is important. Every car that leaves our workshop is mobi washed. That's polished and cleaned, and we were sitting the other day when the Sentra that Hermann was talking about, stunning car. It came in there literally pants and poikies, the thing was, it was not drivable, came in on a flatbed, and it drove out of there, idling beautifully. It is brand new engine.
Yeah.
It polished, clean, and we both stood there and I said, now look at that. The owner was over the moon. And so for me, to answer your question, Abdul, we would love to service anyone. And as Hermann says, it's not about being the cheapest. It's about being the best value for money, because you can spend a lot of money cheaply and get very little value.
Yeah.
Whereas you can spend a little money in a more valuable way and absolutely get your value for money. And we all know this. We've been down a road where you just spend and spend and spend. If I dare say as well, and it's something for the aspirant tuners and the guys out there. Hermann often says, I talk myself out of sales because, and I've seen it with one guy. Guy wanted to put on a bigger turbo. He wanted to put on an intercooler. And Hermann's saying, no, don't do that. You don't need it. No, but I want it. And him saying no is literally walking away from tens of thousands of rands in this instance. But he's saying, my experience, my knowledge for the car that you have and the way you want to use it, you don't need that. So yeah, I just wanted to put that on the table that we'd look forward to basically assisting anyone that wants their cars to be the best that they can be.
Yeah, there's just a nice comment that came out from Trevor Hodges. He drives a Golf. Excuse me?
I know Trevor.
Oh, okay. So Trevor's a very good rallyist, and he loves his Volkswagens. And he's a nice comment. He says he's enjoying the show, and that's really what it's about. It's a chat about cars and about people and about where we're going to go from here. And Hermann, that is one thing that always attracted me to Hermann from Mace days already, in that you're not really talking people out of a sale. You're actually having a customer for life, because you're upfront and you're honest. And to me, I mean, Sean, you're a businessman. I'm a businessman. Hermann's a businessman. That is really what it's about at the end of the day. It's about people coming back to you and loyalty. And they don't come back to you because it was the best price. They come back to you because you were honest and straightforward and you gave them what they wanted at the best and the best service. And that is really what you guys stand for. And that's why I'm so excited about this. I mean, I get more excited when I come there every time and I see the new tiles on the floor and I see the new paint job. And I get excited and I think to myself, this is absolutely awesome. It's never been done before on this scale. And it can only grow from there. And there was another one from Trevor Moore. He says also great show, very informative. And thank you guys for logging on to the show. Okay, Hermann, a little bit more on the tuning side. So, okay. Any information you want to share with us there?
Like I said, you've got those kinds of three avenues of tuning, and the too many times guys phone me and they've got this idea that and mostly it revolves around horsepower. So the guy will say, I want more power. I want to put a management system on my car because my friend says if I put a dictator on the car, it's going to make more power. And it's just simply not true. the full power is actually the easiest to make. So if your injector is open for 80% duty cycle, that means it's open 80% of the time. So it's not one injector spraying fuel economy. They need to get fuel into the cylinders. So they're open on an open valve, a closed valve. It doesn't matter. The injectors are open. So if you did that with an old K-jet system, that's spraying all the injectors at the same time, you're going to need a very, very accurate low dyno to see the difference in power between changing it from a full 4 injectors altogether versus a fully sequential single system. The horsepower is going to be minimal, but the fuel consumption, the drivability, all of that, the idle of the car, that it doesn't foul the spark plugs all the time. That is where the essentially the gold lies. And a standard management system does all of that best. You know, you speak about that Yaris. You go buy it you can go into We Buy Cars and you can go buy yourself a Yaris. And tomorrow morning it will start, if it's not got a problem. But it will start. Your wife will go to the shop with it. She'll come back with it, not moan that it cut out 4 times and she had to change the spark plugs halfway home. Now, you want to throw all of that off so that you can put a standalone management system on it that you can tune with your own laptop if you want. But you're throwing away so much drivability and so much essentially usability of the car. And that's again why, in my opinion, the best 2 things you could do is either software, if it's available for your car, and there are good tune files for your car available and developed. Having said that, you don't want to just, like I said, load a file from the deep dark side of the internet somewhere and hope for the best. The other thing is a unit chip onto your standard system. The only time I would suggest a customer to put a standalone management system on a car is when he's bought an engine from engine importers, Mike's Place, wherever. He wants to put it into a shopping trolley and he wants to start it. Well, then you need a management system. Then what you do is, or you put it into a different car, or you put a 2J engine into a BMW and you're like, I got the wrong ECU for the wrong car. And you're like, how do I marry these 2 things? You need like super brain. I don't even know how to do that stuff, where you marry. There are guys that can do it, but that's very difficult because the standard ECU is going to see all the fault codes from that engine because it hasn't got parts on it it's expecting, and then there's limp modes and you must write all that out. And eventually you can do it, but it will cost you more to do the tuning of the car than the whole conversion cost you. So in that respect, then you put a management system on it. But other than that, if you've got a car driving, you've got a Honda, you've got a Golf, whatever, I always think of a guy named Gerard Neff from Powerflow in Takai. And years ago, he said to me, look, he wants to put a 16 valve in, but he wants to keep running MP9 with a Unichip on it. And you can do that. You run the car with a standard system, and the idle control works and everything works, and the car is very drivable. And it's a heavily modified car, but with a Unichip, it's tunable. The other thing that you need to really consider, and I've said it on the last tuning show, is your tuner himself or herself, if there are ladies. Whatever system they work with best is what you need to go for. So if you're going for a standalone management system, speak to the tuner, speak to the guy, the dyno shop that's going to do it. And if they are suggesting that you fit a Spitronics or this or that, it might not be the best. It might not be the worst, but it's the one that they work with. And that's what you need to do. So, and there's not a lot of shops around that are fitting Unichips and doing the custom tuning software on cars, because it takes a lot of knowledge, and it's a difficult thing to do to get it to work properly. But once you get it to work properly, in my opinion, you've got the best tune for the vehicle.
Okay. Byron, do you have another clip there? Because I sent you a whole lot of clips.
All right, I've got here. So our BMW guys and girls don't feel left out here. So
my life too some are scared to. Yeah, as much as I love it, I just had to. I'ma get on my style. Up the stage going wild. Gonna make them cause a commotion up in the house. Sipping on Henny, we never drown. Smoking the Johnny, that's a noun. 2 times 10 plus an 8, that's a noun.
The floor style. I love it.
It wasn't in that one.
No, but it just, that's a beautiful video. Byron, I wonder who made this video. We should get the same guys to do all the other videos for us. It's brilliant, man.
It's a lovely production, I have to say as well.
Absolutely.
You know, and really puts things out there.
You know, it's
Absolutely.
interesting how the world, we learn, right? So the Moby Wash journey is now it's in our 5th year. And
Okay.
it's an online business, right?
Yeah.
Predominantly. Yes, they come and service your cars. But we've learned so much about online marketing and branding. And we have within Bumblebee, we have a production team that do digital and design and videography and editing and the like. So it is an in-house team, in-house to the group. And watch this space. I think we also, while it's playing there, Byron, was also, when we are going to have an official launch and we're going to be inviting your members to that, and we're going to try and do a lot of exciting things, and hopefully Abdul will look to feedback from you guys as to what will be cool for your forums, whether it's power run days, whether it's get-togethers, whether, you know, whatever it is that tickles your fancy.
Absolutely.
We're looking forward to that.
Sean, I was just thinking about 2 things now, and I'll throw the idea out between you and Herman there. RC cars. Think about that. The radio controlled cars, it's a big thing now. And maybe have a little space there for an RC car somewhere in the corner of the workshop. And the other thing that occurred to me was, at the Northland colleges, they teach you mechanical and welding and all those other things. But I've never yet come across a place that teaches you how to build and tune, or even just tune cars. So Herman, from the hack perspective, as far as the hack auto training the hack training is concerned, that's another avenue that I think can be big, where we can introduce that at colleges. You know, that type of the tuning or race car building, another, like, you know, over and above what you're currently doing. I'm just throwing the idea out there. I just thought about it as I was sitting here.
I don't have enough time in the day. I haven't got enough days in the week to do all of this stuff. But yeah, the training is going well. I mean, we've got with our dyno room has now really stopped our training in its tracks for the last module that we need to do, which is the actual hands-on on the dyno tuning, because we were waiting for our ventilation system to be fitted and more sound deadening. And so that was cancelled from last weekend and it's been shifted to next weekend, the final module 3 of the beginner class for the 4th group of guys. But the training is really exciting. Once these guys, this 4th group for the year is through, we've actually had 80 guys that have come through, and now booking for I think it's the 18th of September. I think it's a month from now, just under a month from now, we're starting again a module 1 beginners course. If the guys want, the information's all on Instagram and our Facebook page, as if they want to join that. And that is, again, learning engine fundamentals, engine basics, tuning basics, right through from how to fit a management system, to wire it onto the car, how to get a safe startup map on the car. And then, like I said, the last one now, which once our turbojet engine extraction unit is in, we'll be able to spend the day in the dyno tuning and actually teaching them how to tune their own car. Because Abdul and I, you and I spoke quite a bit about, you know, it's not this, I don't want to go in this whole like, oh, I'm trying to give back. I'm like, you know, I don't want to go down that road, but, you know, there's nowhere to go and learn this. And initially it started as a, oh shit, COVID's here. How do I make money? Let me teach some people to tune, you know? Yeah. And I've had, that's how it actually started. And the more, obviously the hat dynamics, the tuning side is going as it's an established shop and it's running, and I don't actually need to do the training side anymore now to make ends meet month to month, if I could put it that way. Like when I started the training, I kind of didn't even have my own shop running yet, you know, and I was borrowing premises with a dyno to do the training, you know. So that's where it started. It started as a, hey, I mean, I've always had somebody that I'm training, you know, Dwayne in Epping, he trained with me, and I'm happy that he's got his own dyno now at Mason Epping. And, you know, I've always had guys that have come into the shop, and they, you know, guys phone me and they say, hey, they want to spend some time on the dyno. And I'm like, well, then come, you know, spend some time there and learn what you can learn. But I thought to formalize it more, and it's amazing how hungry the people are for that knowledge. And like I said, we're trying to make it affordable. You know, you can do the whole training course for less than you can get a management system fitted, and you'll be able to fit your own one. You know, so it's and the guys are, like I said, we're going to have had 80 people through, and the next course is filling up. You know, we're at half capacity already, and there's still we only released the dates a week ago. You know, so and we've got our first lady coming, which is awesome. And this it's just to, like we said before, it's to equip people, you know. Definitely there's an aspect missing from the motor trade. If you're going to become in the motor trade, you want to be a motor mechanic. Years ago it was, you got to service the car, you know, that's what you got to learn how to do. You got to build the gearbox, you got to service the car, you got to change the spark plugs. But there's a massive avenue, and there's more than enough work to go around. There's a massive avenue of income in tuning, and there's more and more dynos popping up. Someone gave me the number the other day. I think there's 28 or something, or 23 in Cape Town, something like that. I might be wrong, but it was over 20 dynos in the sort of Cape Town region here, you know, which shows you there's a market for it, and there's a want to do it. The problem is, you buy a dyno, you start a shop, like, you know, where do you start to tune, you know? And if you can come and get some training and stuff, it helps the people to make less mistakes, and equips them to kind of give them a bump start, you know, in their dyno tuning. There's a couple of guys that come that have dyno shops already that come for some training, and then it's to educate the average Joe who's taking his car to a dyno. Like, not everyone's going to bring their car to me. Not everyone maybe likes me, or they think I know what I'm talking about. But at the end of the day, they're going to take their car somewhere, and that person is going to pull the wool possibly, or, you know, they can, you know, just smoke and mirrors. You know, you just because they don't know about it, you tell them they got a good tune or whatever, and, you know, because maybe you've got a new dyno shop that's just popped up, and the guy he hasn't worked it out yet, you know.
I see Herman's hungry.
I think
Can you
Sean,
hear me?
while Herman is, can you hear me, Herman? Okay, Sean.
Can you hear me?
Okay, yeah, there we can hear you now, Herman.
I was just going to, sorry, Abdul.
Yeah, Sean, yeah.
I was just going to say the one thing that we want to do, because I know it's Herman's passion, and as I said, I'm passionate about it as well. I'm the product of an education family, so it's something that is close to my heart. I think that with technology and you know, the products that Herman's been speaking about, the hat tune products, we're going to be having a Mischief and a hat tune portal where guys can log on and starting to, you know, do window shopping and trolley shopping online. But also we're going to probably, we need to formalize it, but we'll start recording these modules, these training modules for guys that can't get. I know the Herman's been asked to come up to Joburg to do training there. So I see Herman going, but we'll make him look good. We'll do all the necessary makeup for the training. It's just, you know, I've attended just fleetingly some of these modules where I've sat in on it, and it's a lot of information, and it's a lot of. I see my business partner from Australia is just logged on. Hillary is in Sweden. How's it, Hillary? There's a lot of information, and if you miss out or you're having a bad day, you're gonna want to revisit it. And as Herman said, there's only so much of him to go around. So I think that is an opportunity as well for us to innovate and put some online courses or just refresher courses that once you've attended it, you can go up and ask the trainer or basically revisit some of the topics discussed. Herman, I seen you smiling when I mentioned it.
Yeah, online, I don't know. Once it's online, once you've said it online, it's there forever and you can't change your mind. Once I tell you something in a class and you say, no, you told me the red goes to the blue. I say, I never said that. So once it's on the line, it's out there.
Yeah. Fair.
Okay, guys, we are 16 minutes over time, but it's such an interesting discussion. But like I always say, you know what? We can't cover everything in one night. There's going to be many more of these discussions and these talks in the future. And that's what people come back for more, because it's interesting. There's a lot of knowledge being shared and a whole lot of other stuff. So just maybe in closing, Byron, do you have anything that you need to just check up with there? Anything you want to say before I just get in the closing questions and stuff there?
Just one. I've been off air a few times this evening, so I've been in between. So what happens is just one set of images has caught my eye over here, and to know more about this Opel Monza peeking around the corner over there. It's a lovely, lovely motor car. Yep. So I thought I'd just share that of the set of pictures along with the E-Type.
It's a V12, yeah.
Amazing.
It's a V12. Now we're talking. A gorgeous motor car. And I think no words are needed there, Abdul, at all.
Absolutely.
So that's what I'm saying. My story is done. There we go.
Okay, so guys, just in closing, I mean, okay, just can you tell me where your new shop is? What is the physical address?
It's number. Well, it's actually Well, the easiest is there's a couple of buildings. There's a 3A, a 3B, a 3C, but it's number 3 Kems Road in Wynberg. KEMMS.
Off the main road.
Off the main road, yeah. Just opposite. There's a Avis car sales place across the road from Kems Road. So if you come up the main road past Suzuki South Motorbikes, TrackMac, then you'll get to an Avis car sales place. There you turn left into Kems Road. And we're a little bit difficult to see off that road because we haven't got signage on that road, but it's with a sort of the last little warehouse building on the left of that block.
Cool. And contact numbers if you want to book a car in or what, the mobile wash, whatever. What contact details are there?
I'll get it for you now.
I also don't know it out of my head because our landline has only been in for.
We do have it. It's 087 238 2084.
Okay, maybe maybe just put it up on the screen.
Yeah. Also, we've just launched.
I'll see.
Sorry.
Maybe just put that number on again so I can just share it there, Sean.
Okay, it's 087 238 2084.
2084.
Yeah. So I know, and Herman's meeting with our marketing team on Tuesday, I think next week. As he said, we've been in heavy moving mode and fitting out mode, and we're getting there, but it's a great journey. The Head Dynamics and Mischief will coexist, as you know. So there's a new mischiefgarage.co.za website that also makes reference to Hat and Herman's story and our journey, and you can subscribe there as well. And as I said, it's just been wonderful. Abdul has got to meet you. Now meeting Byron as well in the broader community. I'm really excited with the collaboration. I'd like to remind everyone, I'm definitely, and I'm sure most of us are proudly South African, and this is a world sport that we can create together, and we can put it up on this very forum and have people around the world like Hillary in Sweden tuning in and learning from us and buying from us and creating more jobs through all these dynos, and let there be 35 or 40 dynos around the country and all sharing knowledge and being attuned in this instance.
Absolutely. And from your side, Herman, your vision.
Yeah, look, I think my vision it's changed a little bit over the years, and this whole concept is it's really it's busy morphing every day. As you said, Abdul, coming in there, you came in a week ago or 2 weeks ago. It's changing every day, and every day there's new things being put in and stuff because we actually just moved in a month ago. So we speaking a lot of what we've spoken about tonight is stuff that's done already. So you saw that last picture with the E-type. The diner room is looking more completed than when we were doing the M3 for that first video. There you go. Although obviously the toolboxes are coming out now. That's an old toolbox that I just had there. The computers are being moved. That fan in the back wall is going to be removed, and then and there's ducting coming out the right-hand side of the dining room. So everything's happening all the time, but we have to make money and we have to survive at the same time. So we kind of working and developing and all these things that Sean is talking about, like the hat-tuned software that we want to do. It's all like, I think, watch this space in 3 months and 6 months, and 1 year from now we'll look back and say, shit, do you remember what we spoke about that night? Yo, we were talking a load of nonsense, but we got some things right. So I think the software side is where I'm leaning towards it, the development of software, because what it does immediately is there's a company, Vertex Dyno at Killarney, and they've had a lot of problems with their dyno that they've been using, and they've now bought a new dyno package and everything, which we help. I've got time for the owner of that place. I've got a soft spot for him. So I'm helping him out there to get his dyno running. And what it does is a lot of the dyno shops, let's say you, Abdul, wanted to open a dyno shop. You are exactly the same as the owner of Vertex. You don't know about tuning yourself as such right now, but you want to learn along the way. So what you do is you buy a dyno like he did, and you put it in the ground, and you're trying to give the best product that you can. But a standalone tuning is really difficult because you need a lot of knowledge to do it. So by offering somebody like him, or offering, let's say you were to put a dyno in, offering you a software package where you know where that file is coming from, you can mail me or phone me and say, listen, this is not working, that's not working, and we make the changes, and you've got somebody who knows a little bit behind the scenes who's doing that file for you. So essentially, yes, you've got Abdul Sayed's dyno tuning services, but you offer a hat tune file. So your software side will be affiliated to hat tune, which allows you to immediately buy and sell files, and you're getting a good tune on the car. That allows you the software side, which allows you time to build up your knowledge on the Unichip side and on the software side, on the standalone side. And that's kind of what Sean said. He said, that's where we're going, is we're going to be kind of helping dyno shops to have reliable software that they can load, not having to know too much yourself. And then building your brand from there, and at some point, then you will drop the kind of the hat tune brand, and you'll say, no, I'm Abdul Sayed Dyno Tuning, and I do those files, because you make your own custom files as you go, and then you start putting your own stuff on. But it just makes safe dyno tunes available to the different shops, and I think that's going to be a big direction we're going. You can even have a person that doesn't have a dyno that can load a file, but where that file is coming from. There's a lot of these guys that have a laptop that will load a file. They'll come to your house and do a tune file on your GDI, and often there are guys from reputable houses, the same as we would do. We would then be able to come to your house and load a file. Not that I'm going to do that personally, but you might get a person who wants to do that, and then he buys a machine that's linked to ours, and he can load my files, or hack tune files. And then he knows when he loads that on, it's a safe file. He can maybe do a log or two, and then that is got a safe tune.
I think
that's kind of discussion that we want.
Sean?
I want to just sum it up quickly, and based on what Herman was saying, we're operating with an abundance mentality. Really, because there's so much work, so much opportunity, that the more we can share and the more we can embrace, and like you guys, and thank you for the platform. It just makes, it's an abundance mentality. It's a force multiplier, and the more Hermans we can get out there, the more drivers and the more racing and gymkhanas and all of that. It just thrives and makes the industry and South Africa a better place. More jobs, more excitement, more fun.
Absolutely. I remember a little conversation we had, myself, you, and Herman, just when you guys at the new venue, at the new warehouse, and I think you were saying, Sean, we wonder if this is the right time to start a business, with this type of economy. And I still said it is the right time because it can't get any worse than this. And it is the right time because there's so much out there. And if you offer people good service at the right price with trustworthiness and honesty, you can't go wrong. Absolutely not. So,
and importantly, have fun.
Absolutely.
It's
you pursue your passion.
Stepping to work. Yeah, it must be passion.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's what we share in abundance, all of us, clearly.
Absolutely. So, guys, I thank you very much, Byron, for all the background work and the sponsors for sponsoring the show, and Sean and Herman. Thank you so much for being on the show tonight. It was very enlightening. And the more I speak to you guys, the more I learn, the more everybody learns. And maybe we should get you guys on the show on a regular basis, just plotting your journey from where you started with Mischief and Hat. And, every couple of weeks or couple of months, just plot it and see where it's gone and where it's going. That'll be great, just as a story. And that'll be really brilliant. So I wish you guys.
Sorry, Abdul.
Sean, Sean, you were saying? Yeah.
I welcome that. I think the other thing that, and just it was based on what Herman was saying earlier, many small businessmen and women, business people, need guidance in business. And I think an occasional workshop at Mischief and Hat, where we just sit down with guys and talk business, talk about marketing, talk about sales, talk about administration, talk about finance and treasury management, and really get them understanding a slightly bigger picture and introducing them to a broader network that you've got your business, but there's some practices that you can embrace and become even better at what you do, because a successful business and an entrepreneur is what is necessary. I talk about thriving, not surviving, and
Absolutely.
And hopefully we can blend that as well. But I'd love to be engaged in that.
Absolutely. And I just see so much potential with your guys' venture, with your joint venture, should I say. And I wish you guys all the success. And I know Byron echoes my words, and every other person out there. We wish you guys all the well for the future. And thanks so much for being in the show tonight. Thanks, guys, for watching. Subscribe to our channel there. And we'll catch you guys. Well, next week, Patrick and Clint will be on. And the following week, myself and Byron will be back on. We're trying to get Rushan Woodley's son, who's done really well in motorcycling overseas in Spain. He did he did a race on Saturday. Started 20th and he ended up 9th. So hopefully another Brad Binder in the making there. And we haven't really had somebody from a motorcycle background on the show yet, Byron. So that'll be a good idea to have someone from that background on the show. So guys, thank you so much. It was absolutely awesome having you guys on the show. Thanks for being here tonight, and chat to you guys soon. Thank you.
Excellent.
Keep well,
Thank you so
guys.
much.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, guys. Cheers.
Alright, yeah. Kelsey. Yeah. Yeah, alright.